Nadia pressed the elevator button for the 40th time, her diamond bracelet catching the light as her bodyguard Ziyad stood silent behind her. She didn't know he'd just placed a tracker in her purse, or that in 12 hours, he'd be the one hunting her. Nadia Al-Mansouri had perfected the art of pretending her life was normal. At 24, she ran her father's luxury hospitality empire across 3 continents while he handled the parts of the business she wasn't supposed to ask about. The parts that required men, like Ziyad. She glanced at him in the rearview mirror as their car sliced through Dubai's evening traffic. Sharp jaw, darker skin than hers, eyes that noticed everything and revealed nothing. He'd been assigned to her 6 months ago after the incident in London, the one her father called an unfortunate misunderstanding and she called attempted kidnapping. "You're staring again," Ziyad said without looking up from his phone. "I'm strategizing," Nadia shot back. "There's a difference." "Strategizing what?" "How to lose me at tonight's gala." She smiled. "I haven't lost you yet. You haven't tried hard enough." This was their routine. The verbal sparring that made the suffocation of constant surveillance almost bearable. But tonight felt different. Her father, Rashid Al-Mansouri, had summoned her to his private office before the charity event, and when her father summoned, kingdoms trembled. "Stay with me, you need to see what happens in that office." The Al-Mansouri building pierced the sky like a steel dagger. Nadia's heels clicked against imported marble as she walked past employees who averted their eyes. Respect or fear? She'd stopped asking. Ziyad stayed exactly 3 steps behind her. Always 3 steps. Close enough to react, far enough to maintain the illusion of distance. Her father's office occupied the entire 52nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city like a conquest. Rashid stood with his back to her, hands clasped behind him, a pose that meant he'd already made a decision she wouldn't like.
"Sit," he said.
Nadia remained standing. Small rebellions were all she had. Rashid turned. Silver threaded his temples, but his eyes held the sharpness of a younger man. A dangerous man. "Your cousin Zainab has agreed to marry Minister Farouk's son." "How generous of her." "You'll marry his other son, Omar." The words landed like a slap. Nadia's breath caught, but she forced her voice steady. "I run a billion-dollar division of your company. I'm not a livestock. You're my daughter. You'll do what strengthens this family." Rashid moved to his desk, poured tea, as if they were discussing quarterly projections. "Omar is educated, connected. The alliance secures our expansion into the government hospitality contracts. The wedding is in 6 weeks.
"No."
Her father's cup paused halfway to his lips. "No. I won't marry a stranger to seal your business deals." Rashid set down the tea with deliberate care. "Everything you are, your education, your position, your illusion of independence, I gave you. This isn't a negotiation." Nadia felt Ziyad's presence like heat at her back. She wanted to turn, to see if his face betrayed anything, but she kept her eyes locked on her father. "Then I'll leave. Renounce everything." Rashid laughed, a sound without humor. "Where will you go? You've never been alone a day in your life. You think the world is boardrooms and champagne galas." He nodded toward Ziyad. "Ask your bodyguard what the world actually is. Watch what she does next. This changes everything." Nadia stormed past Ziyad, vision blurring. She made it to the elevator before her composure cracked. The doors closed, and she slammed her fist against the wall. "That helped?" Ziyad asked. "Shut up." "Respectfully, no." She whirled on him. "You think this is funny? I just got sold like a property." Ziyad's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. "I think you have more power than you believe. And less time than you think." "What does that mean?" The elevator doors opened onto the parking garage. "It means your father didn't call you here just to inform you. He called you here to see if you'd run." Nadia's skin went cold. "The gala is a trap. Half the guests are Omar's family and business associates. Your father plans to announce the engagement tonight. Publicly. So you can't refuse without humiliating everyone." "How do you know this?" Ziyad guided her toward the car, his hand light on her elbow. "Because I read the seating chart. Because your father's assistant ordered custom engagement announcements this morning. Because this is what I do. Nadia stopped walking. Then help me. I am helping you. Get in the car.
No.
Help me disappear. Ziyad's jaw tightened. You don't know what you're asking. I'm asking for my life back. The one I never actually had. She stepped closer, close enough to see the gold flecks in his brown eyes. Please. For 3 seconds, Ziyad was silent. There's a service exit on the 3rd floor. Fire escape leads to Al-Khail Road. I'll tell your father you weren't feeling well, that I took you home. And when he checks?
He will.
Which gives you maybe 3 hours. Ziyad pulled out his phone, typed something, showed her the screen. An address in Dara, the old quarter, far from the towers and wealth. My cousin runs an apartment building. 7th floor, Unit 12B. Keys under the mat shaped like Dubai frame. Lock yourself in. Don't call anyone. Don't use your credit cards. What about you? I'll deal with your father. Nadia memorized the address. Why are you doing this? Ziyad looked at her for a long moment. Because 6 months ago, I watched you negotiate a resort acquisition in 3 languages while your father's competitors tried to intimidate you. Because you remembered my mother's name after I mentioned her once. Because he stopped. Just go. Don't look away. The real story starts now. Nadia ran. She ditched her heels in a stairwell, yanked off her jewelry, tied her hair into a messy bun. The service exit spat her into an alley reeking of garbage and cardboard. She'd never been in an alley before. A taxi took her to Dara. She paid cash, the bills unfamiliar in her hands. The driver gave her a strange look, a woman in a designer dress, barefoot, clutching a purse worth more than his car. The apartment building was ancient by Dubai standards, maybe 30 years old. Cracked concrete and satellite dishes. She found the key, let herself in. Unit 12B was clean but sparse. A couch. A small TV. Curtains the color of sand. She locked the door, engaged the deadbolt, then sank to the floor and finally let herself cry. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Don't answer calls. Don't order food. There's cash in the kitchen drawer. Enough for 3 days. I'll contact you when it's safe.
Z.
She was about to text back when someone knocked on the door. Nadia froze. The knock came again, harder. Nadia? Open the door. Her father's voice. 3 hours, Ziyad had said. It had been 45 minutes. I know you're in there. Rashid's tone carried the weight of immovable certainty. Ziyad's tracker placed you here. He's been very helpful. Betrayal tasted like copper. Nadia's hands shook as she backed away from the door. This accomplished nothing, her father continued. Except teaching you a lesson about trust. Open the door. We'll forget this happened. Nadia grabbed her phone. Dialed Ziyad. It rang once, then disconnected. The lock began to turn. Her father had a key. You need to see what happens when that door opens. But it wasn't her father who entered. Omar stepped inside, tall, handsome in the way of men who'd never been told no. Designer suit, perfect teeth, eyes that assessed her like merchandise. Future wife, he said, closing the door behind him. Running away before we've even met. That's disrespectful. Get out. Your father asked me to bring you home. Gently, if possible. Omar smiled. I prefer gently. Nadia looked for exits. Window, 7th floor.
Door blocked.
Kitchen, knives. She bolted for the kitchen. Omar moved faster, caught her wrist. I like that you have spirit. We'll work on channeling it appropriately. Nadia drove her knee toward his groin. Omar twisted, took the blow on his thigh, slammed her against the wall. The impact rattled her teeth. Now that, Omar said, breath hot on her face, was disrespectful. The door burst open. Ziyad filled the frame, and the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Step away from her, Ziyad said quietly. Omar laughed. The bodyguard. Your father said you'd go native, protect the little princess. He tightened his grip on Nadia's wrists. You're dismissed. This is family business. Ziyad crossed the distance in 3 strides. What happened next lasted maybe 4 seconds. Omar released Nadia, reached for something at his belt. Ziyad's hand shot out, twisted, and Omar's shriek echoed off the walls. A knife clattered to the floor. Ziyad swept Omar's legs, drove him face first into the couch, and pressed a knee between his shoulder blades. Nadia, Ziyad said, still perfectly calm. Your father didn't send him. Check his phone.
She did.
The messages made her stomach turn. Omar had been tracking her through his own connections. Had planned to convince her before Rashid arrived. The photos on his phone, other women, other convincing, made her want to be sick. Stay watching, this is where everything breaks. We need to leave, Ziyad said.
Now.
Your father's security is 5 minutes out. You lied to me. The tracker saved your life. Omar would have found you anyway. I controlled the information. Ziyad hauled Omar up, zip-tied his wrists with plastic strips from his jacket. You can hate me later. Right now we run. Nadia grabbed the cash from the kitchen drawer. Where? Somewhere your father's money and influence means nothing. They took Omar's car, a Porsche that screamed wealth. Ziyad drove like he'd learned from action movies or from running before. Nadia didn't ask which. Who are you? She finally said as they hit the 11 highway. Really?
Ziyad Al-Hassan.
Born in Sharjah. Mother's a nurse. Father walked out when I was 6. He changed lanes without signaling. I joined private security because I'm good at protecting people. Your father hired me because I'm good at other things too. What other things? Things that keep his empire running smoothly. Things you don't want to know about. Nadia studied his profile. But you helped me anyway. I did.
Why?
Ziyad was quiet for a long time. 6 months ago, when I started this job, I thought you'd be like the others. Spoiled. Entitled. Blind to what your lifestyle costs. He glanced at her. But you noticed the staff. You learned your driver's daughter's name. You fought for a whistleblower your father wanted silenced. He turned back to the road. You're not like him. And I got tired of protecting people who deserved what came for them. So what now? We run forever.
No.
We fix this.
How?
Ziyad smiled, and it was the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. We burn it down. Don't stop now, you need to see her choice. They drove through the night, leaving Dubai's glow behind for the darker spaces between Emirates. Ziyad made calls in languages Nadia didn't recognize. By dawn, they reached a compound in the Hajar Mountains, stone walls, solar panels, satellite equipment. Friends? Nadia asked. Colleagues. People who've had enough of men, like your father. Inside, 3 people waited around a table covered in laptops and documents. Ziyad introduced them. Amira, a forensic accountant. Tariq, a journalist. Noor, a former government auditor. Nadia Al-Mansouri. Amira said, eyes sharp. We've been building a case against your father for 2 years. Money laundering, bribery, connections to arms trafficking. But we can't prove he orders it. He's too insulated. You want me to testify, Nadia said. We want you to steal, Tariq corrected. The real ledgers. The ones in his private safe. The one only family can access. Nadia looked at Ziyad. You planned this. All of it.
No.
I planned to get evidence and disappear. You changed the plan when you asked me to help you. He leaned forward. Your father built an empire on exploitation. He crushes competitors, bribes officials, finances conflicts to profit from reconstruction. You've seen pieces of it. Now you can end it. By destroying my entire family. By freeing yourself, Noor said quietly. And everyone else trapped in his system. Nadia thought of her father's office. The tea served while he sold her. Omar's phone. The women in those photos. What do you need me to do? Stay with us. The heist starts now. The plan was insane. Which meant it might work. Nadia would return to Dubai. Claim Omar attacked her. True. And that Ziyad rescued her. Also true. She'd beg her father's forgiveness. Agree to the marriage. Anything to get back into his trust. Then, during the engagement party, While everyone celebrated, she'd access the safe. "He'll never believe you've accepted this," Amira said, reviewing the plan. "He will," Nadia replied, "because I'm going to break myself convincing him." It took 3 days. 3 days of phone calls, tears, apologies. 3 days of playing the daughter who'd learned her lesson. Omar was in the hospital with a broken wrist and shattered ego, spinning stories about being attacked by Ziyad, whom he'd heroically fought off. Rashid finally agreed to see her. She met him at the family estate in Al-Quain, away from Dubai's eyes. Ziyad came with her, at Rashid's insistence. "So," her father said, seated in his courtyard under stars that seemed to judge them all, "my daughter returns. With the man who helped her embarrass us." "Ziyad protected me from Omar," Nadia said, voice small in a way that physically hurt. "Omar had a knife. He was going to." She let tears come. Real ones, fueled by rage, she channeled into performance. "I was stupid.
Scared. I'm sorry."
Rashid studied her. "And the marriage?" "I'll do it. Whatever you need. Can we postpone? 6 months? Let this die down. Let Omar recover." Her father sipped coffee. 4 months. Wedding before year's end. You'll move into a supervised apartment. No more freedom to run. "Yes, father." "And Ziyad?" Rashid turned to the bodyguard. "You broke protocol. Helped her flee." "I protected her from immediate danger," Ziyad said, tone neutral. "As instructed." "Is that all you did?" The question hung in the air, weighted with implications. Ziyad met Rashid's eyes. "Yes." Rashid stood. "Then you're dismissed. Effective immediately. Someone else will guard my daughter. Watch what Nadia does. This is the cost." "No," Nadia said. "I want Ziyad." Her father's eyebrows rose. "Want?"
Trust.
"I trust him. After everything." She forced vulnerability into her posture.
Please.
"I need someone I trust near me." Rashid laughed. "You're more manipulative than I gave you credit for." He nodded.
Fine.
"Ziyad stays. But on probation. One mistake, and he doesn't just lose the job." The threat was clear. Ziyad bowed slightly. "Understood." They left with a reprieve.
4 months to plan.
For months to pull off the impossible. In the car, Nadia finally breathed. "He believed it. He believed you're scared. That's not the same as trust." Ziyad's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "We have one shot at the safe. If we fail, we won't." "Nadia." Ziyad pulled over, turned to face her. "If this goes wrong, your father won't just disown you. You understand that, right? The things he's done, the people he's crossed, you'll know too much. You'll be a liability." "Are you trying to scare me?" "I'm trying to give you an out. You can still walk away. Marry Omar, live in a gilded cage, survive." Nadia reached across the console, took his hand. His skin was warm, rough with calluses. 6 months ago, you started protecting me. Tonight, I'm protecting everyone else. I'm not walking away." Ziyad looked at their joined hands, then at her face. "You're the bravest person I know. And the most infuriating." "Good combination?" "Terrible combination." But he smiled. "Let's go steal your father's empire. You have to see the engagement party. Everything explodes." For months felt like 4 minutes. The engagement party arrived with the force of inevitability. The venue was the Burj Al Arab because Rashid Al-Mansouri did nothing without making a statement. 500 guests, diplomatic security, press pool, and somewhere in the private wing, her father's mobile safe, the one he traveled with, containing digital keys to his real records. Nadia wore a gold dress that felt like armor. Omar stood beside her, wrist healed, smile plastic. He'd barely looked at her since she'd returned. Fine by her. Ziyad was positioned by the service entrance, officially on security detail, unofficially, waiting for her signal. The party flowed around her. Congratulations she didn't want. Champagne toasts to a future she'd destroy. Rashid gave a speech about family, legacy, alliance. Nadia smiled and died inside. Then, exactly as planned, the lights went out. Emergency generators kicked in after 5 seconds, long enough. Nadia moved through the confusion toward the private wing. Guest security was focused on the ballroom. Ziyad materialized beside her. Timer, he asked. 4 minutes before someone investigates. The safe was in a converted suite, disguised as luggage. Nadia's fingerprint unlocked it. Family privilege. Inside, a tablet encrypted with her father's biometrics. That's the problem, Ziyad said. We need his. I know. Nadia pulled out her phone. 3 months ago, she'd convinced her father to set up emergency access. In case something happened to him, the family could still access critical business files. She'd framed it as filial concern. Really, it was the skeleton key. Her mother's biometrics. Nadia Al-Mansouri, who died when Nadia was 7, whose fingerprint and retinal scan her father had preserved in the system, unable to let go. Nadia entered the codes, pressed her thumb to the reader, held her phone's camera, preloaded with her mother's iris scan, to the lens. The tablet unlocked. 40 seconds, Ziyad said, downloading everything to an encrypted drive. 20 seconds. The door handle turned. Ziyad shoved Nadia toward the bathroom. Hide. What about? Hide. Rashid entered as Ziyad closed the tablet, slid it back into the safe. Interesting place to be during a power outage, Rashid said, voice soft. Dangerous. Investigating the source. Someone tampered with the electrical. Or someone created a distraction. Rashid moved closer. You know what I think, Ziyad? I think you've fallen for my daughter. I think you've let that cloud your judgment. Sir. I think you're helping her steal from me. The room went still. Is that an accusation? Ziyad asked. Rashid smiled. It's a test. Which you just failed. He pulled out a phone, made a call. We have a problem in Suite 7. Bring Nadia. Don't stop watching. The real twist is coming. They dragged Nadia from the bathroom. Omar appeared, flanked by security. The smile on his face was vindictive. Well, Omar said. This is disappointing. Search them, Rashid ordered. They found nothing. The drive was hidden in Ziyad's shoe, a place they didn't check immediately. Nothing, sir, the guard reported. Rashid's eyes narrowed. Then what were you doing in here?
Talking, Nadia said.
About my options. What options? The ones where I don't marry a man who tried to assault me. She turned to Omar. Did you think I wouldn't tell anyone? That your father's money would protect you? Omar's face flushed. You crazy. I have photos from your phone. The messages. The other women. Should we share them with the party? Rashid held up a hand.
Enough.
This wedding is happening. No, Samira said. Everyone turned. Nadia's mother stood in the doorway. Except Nadia's mother was dead. The woman was maybe 50, wearing a simple abaya, face uncovered. She had Nadia's eyes. Her bone structure. Hello, Rashid, she said calmly. Rashid went pale. Samira. Everything you thought you knew just changed. I'm sorry, Samira said, looking at Nadia. I'm so sorry I let you believe I was gone. Nadia couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
You're dead.
Quel accident.
I was 7. You were 7 when I ran. When I faked my death because it was the only way your father would stop hunting me. Samira stepped into the room, and security didn't stop her. I've been watching from a distance, waiting for the right moment. Tonight is that moment. Rashid found his voice. You dare come here. With evidence, Samira interrupted. Everything you've done, every bribe, every deal, every body buried in your empire's foundation. I've been collecting it for 17 years. She held up a phone, and in 30 seconds, it goes to every news outlet and law enforcement agency in the Emirates. Unless you agree to my terms. Which are? Nadia goes free.
Ziyad goes free.
You dissolve the engagement, step down from the company, and turn yourself in for your crimes. Rashid laughed. You think I'll destroy everything I built? I think you'll do it to protect your son. The room froze. What son? Nadia whispered. Samira looked at her with infinite sadness. Omar. He's your half-brother. Born from your father's affair before we married. Hidden, raised by the Farouk family as their own. The engagement was never about alliance. It was about keeping bloodlines quiet. Nadia staggered. Ziyad caught her. Omar looked between Rashid and Samira.
No.
That's a lie. DNA test from the lab where your mother stored your birth records, Samira said. Already submitted to authorities, along with everything else. Rashid's empire crumbled in his eyes. You always were smarter than I gave you credit for. And you were always exactly as monstrous as I feared. Samira's timer hit 0. Your choice, Rashid. Prison and scandal now, or confession and prison later, with your children spared the worst of it. Watch what he chooses. This defines everything. Rashid looked at Nadia. Really looked at her, maybe for the first time. I gave you everything, he said quietly. You gave me a cage, Nadia replied, and called it love. Rashid turned to Samira. If I do this, if I confess, you'll protect them? Nadia and Omar? I'll keep them out of prison. I can't protect them from the truth. A long silence. Then Rashid nodded. Get me a lawyer. A real one, not one of my lapdogs. He looked at Ziyad. The drive. In your shoe. Make sure my confession matches what's on it. I won't let them pin anything on my children that I actually did. Ziyad pulled out the drive, and something like respect flickered across Rashid's face. You were the best man I ever hired, Rashid said, because you were loyal to the right things. As security led Rashid away, not his men, but Samira's, working with government investigators, Nadia finally let herself collapse. Ziyad held her up, and this time, she didn't have to pretend to need him. Samira approached carefully. I know you have questions. 17 years, Nadia said. You let me think you were dead for 17 years. I had to keep you safe. If Rashid thought I was alive, he'd have used you to find me. This way, you were always his daughter. Loved in his way. Protected. Protected by becoming exactly what he was. No, Samira said firmly. You broke the cycle. Tonight, you chose differently. That's everything. Omar stood apart, looking lost. Nadia walked to him. We're not getting married. Obviously, he said flatly. Then, quieter. Did you know?
No.
I'm as blindsided as you. They stood there, two people whose lives had just exploded, and found something unexpected. Understanding. What do we do now? Omar asked. We rebuild, Nadia said, as something better than what he made us. 6 months later, Nadia stood in a different office.
Smaller.
Brighter. The sign outside read, Al-Mansouri Foundation, Ethical Business and Survivor Support. Her father was in prison. The company was being dissolved, assets liquidated to pay victims and settlements. Nadia and Omar had kept nothing except the freedom to choose what came next. Samira worked with them now, teaching Nadia everything she'd learned about surviving, about building something good from ruins. And Ziyad? He was still 3 steps behind her. But now, sometimes he walked beside her instead. So, he said, reviewing applications for the Foundation's first security hire. We help people escape situations like yours. Like ours, Nadia corrected. You were trapped too. By what my father made you do. Fair point. They worked in comfortable silence. Then Nadia asked the question she'd been avoiding for months. Why did you really help me that night? The real reason. Ziyad set down his pen. You want the truth? Always. My sister. Younger sister, Fatima. She was engaged to a man like Omar. Like your father. I couldn't save her. She married him before I learned what he was really like. He met Nadia's eyes. She's divorced now. Safe. But for years she wasn't. So, when you asked me to help you run, I couldn't save her then. But I could save you. Nadia reached across the desk, took his hand. You know I don't need saving anymore, right? I know. But maybe I still need you to be safe. He smiled. Habit. Good habit. The Foundation's phone rang, their first official call for help. Nadia answered, listened, and began coordinating resources. Ziyad watched her work, confident, purposeful, free, and thought about how some people are born into cages and spend their lives trying to escape. And others are born into cages and spend their lives breaking them open for everyone else. Nadia Al-Mansouri was the second kind. And he'd protect that choice, that bravery, for as long as she'd let him. 3 years later, the Al-Mansouri Foundation helped 2,847 people escape exploitative situations. Nadia and Ziyad are married and have open branches in 12 countries. Samira published her memoir, donating proceeds to reform organizations. Omar became a prosecutor specializing in white-collar crime. And Rashid Al-Mansouri served his sentence, eventually teaching business ethics courses to other inmates, the last twist even he didn't see coming. Sometimes the greatest power isn't holding on to what you were given. It's choosing what you become after you let it all go. Drop your comment below. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss these stories every day.